Okay, here we are with John Morris, who has his book, Alone at Sea, Gloucester in the Age of the Dorymen, and you cover, it's a long period of time, a 300-year period.
300 years. We start with Gloucester being settled, and then we really move forward pretty quickly into the 19th century. The Dorymen come in the 19th century at the point of the resurgence for Gloucester fisheries.
Let me show the people the book. This is the book. Is this out yet?
Just came out. Just physically got copies 2 days ago.
Physically got copy, Alone at Sea, Gloucester in the Age of the Dorymen. And where can they get this book right now if they wanted to?
They can go right on the web at Amazon or Barnes & Noble, any of them.
We like to direct people to the local bookstores.
The local bookstore should have them within a week or so. We'll be doing a book reading on the 10th at Sawyer Free, and the local bookstore will be there with piles of books that I'll sign and people can walk away with, but they'll have them there.
Okay.
So we can get them down on Main Street.
You can get them down on Main Street. Hopefully, the bookstore of Gloucester and Dogtown Bookstore.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. We got that out of the way. Now this book. So why don't we explain? Well, I should say that I went through the book a little bit. This book is 448 pages. It's got tables. It's got maps. It has pictures. Where do you get 448 pages? Where do you get the resources to put this kind of a comprehensive piece together? Because I mean, it stops in 1939. Were you born in 1939?
41.
41. But so you don't have a recollection of this. So you have to use resources. Where do you go to get the resources to put something
our town was very fortunate. I mean, we were a fishing community forever, basically, and as soon as we got newspapers in the early 19th century, we began to have stories in there. And as the town became a vibrant fishing community by the 1840s, 1850s, there's just huge amount of material. And I sat at the Sawyer Free Library, looked at every paper from about 1820s up to the end of the 1930s. Just poured over that material, printed it out, used that as a basis. Also, we have a great museum in the Cape Ann Museum. They have a lot of anecdotal material, diaries, stories and material that you can use. There were still 2 Dorymen alive, and I actually got to interview them, which was a lot of fun. One from Gloucester and one from Newfoundland. Lots of families were still there, some children, lots of grandchildren. They told me their stories. I interviewed them, I taped them, I listened to what they had. Some local people have great records. Jeff Thomas, whose father, Gordon Thomas, did the great book Fast and Able. When near the end of Gordon's life, he and Jeff went out and taped interviews with lots of fishermen here and in Nova Scotia. Used that resource. Wherever I could get my hands on it, I pulled it forward. It was a huge research effort.
Mm-hmm. So why don't we go a little bit deeper into what people can expect when they open these pages? What can they expect to read about? What can they expect to, who would be interested in this book?
Somebody from Gloucester whose parents worked on fish, whose grandfather was a Gloucester Doryman. Why I got into this, and why I think a lot of people like me will find in here a part of their history. There was a time, if you went back to the 19th century, when we had 500 to 600 schooners sitting in Gloucester Harbor.
You have a picture of that in there, don't you?
We have a wonderful picture of...
Because this kind of blew me away. I'll take it and show people.
That's the mackerel fleet sitting inside of Eastern Point. There's no Dogtown. There's no breakwater out there now. So that's in the protection of Eastern Point as they were waiting to go out.
All those masts. That is just, and I can't even get it all in the frame, but it's people will get an idea for sure. How many did you say?
There was about 120 vessels sitting there, but we actually had at any one point in time in the 19th century up to 550 schooners in the fleet. There were something like 6,500 Gloucester fishermen.
Wow.
They came in starting around the 1840s and 50s. That's when our immigration started. The Portuguese start to come in, the Nova Scotians start to come in, the Scandinavians. the last group that comes into Gloucester are the Italians around the beginning of the 20th century.
I would, well, you're talking about this era, because there's more groups that have come in since.
Since then, yes.
The Hondurans and the...
yeah, they weren't here when I was a kid. It was interesting.
There you go.
But yeah, no, the community is always attracting people. The essence of being a working port, whatever we're doing, but those were the immigrations that I'm talking about here. So I described the Swedes coming in. I described the Nova Scotians and the Newfoundland and the Portuguese, the Italians, all of those groups coming in. Pick some families, pick some individuals, so you get to know some people in the story as well as tracking, this history of the port.
Wow, that's very interesting. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people that have descendants that and you have there's a very, in the very back, what do you call it, the appendix?
Yeah.
You have, how many pages of references and notes and...
Well, one of the things that I tried to do was think about what I had to learn as I was doing this. So there's a detailed glossary of terms. You want to know who the Big Four was? Well, you had to go to 1906, 1907, when Gordon's came into existence, when 4 firms came into existence. Well, I described that term. All the fishing terms are described. Then I have detailed tables of the size of the fleet, who owned the fleet every year, how much fish came in, how many people died, how many widows were made, how many fatherless children came out of that. And those stories are in the book about those things. I have nice stories of tragedy at sea, as well as the day-to-day operations of the fishing port.
Unbelievable. This is a resource. It's almost like a Bible of that time.
That's what I've tried to do. I've tried to produce. If I was going to do it, I was going to do it right, and put our history down as best I could. And the really great resources to help me do it.
The book itself is gorgeous. It's hardback, and it's who's the publisher?
Commonwealth Editions from Beverly.
Commonwealth Editions, and that is a Jeff Weaver painting. How did you get Jeff Weaver to do this?
It's funny. One of my, I've made a lot of good friends in the time of doing this, and one of them's a guy named Jeff Thomas, and Jeff goes, he's wanted to see a book like this his whole life, and so he introduced me to Jeff Weaver. Oh. Jeff Weaver and I had naturally just bonded. I mean, Jeff Weaver's images of the Gloucester dorymen and the schooners are a classic in there. So I had to ask Jeff to put something on there, and this wonderful picture of these men sitting in the dory at sea.
Can you show me? Can you go to the picture of the one with the halibut? The guys in the dory in the. I'll so that people can see some of the types of images in the book.
So this is the Cape Ann Museum image. So halibut are can be a very big fish. There's an image on the back cover, if you turn to the back cover, of how big a halibut can be.
Yeah.
And you made the most money as a halibut fisherman. It was also the most difficult fishery, because you would go away from anywhere from a few weeks to months as a fisherman. That's what my grandfather did his whole life. He was a halibut fisherman. And they went the farthest away. They actually, in the 1880s and 90s, they were fishing off of Iceland. In the
here's a picture of codfish in this dory right here. Where did this image come from?
I'm not sure. This would say on there. Probably also Cape Ann Museum. But
let's see right there.
There's a set. The images in here come from a bunch of people. Some from my collection, some from the collection of Jeff Thomas, some David Cox, some the Cape Ann Museum, etc.
Here it is. It's Alone at Sea, Gloucester and the Age of the Doryman, from 1623 to 1939. John, thank you very much. We're looking forward to being able to go down to the bookstores in Gloucester and the Dogtown bookstore and pick up a copy. And what day is your book signing?
We'll have one on June 10th at Sawyer Free, 7 in the evening. Anybody like to come? Love to have them there.
Are you gonna have a little? You're gonna do a little reading?
I will do about a half an hour reading. I will that evening talk about the dorymen themselves, a little bit about what a doryman is, and then tell some stories of saving and some stories of loss.